Hi everyone, I'm doing my John Maxwell for today, and the question for today is, are you putting the family first? And this is something that it's handed on in the Christian faith, in the Christian tradition. There is a saying that is passed on in the church that when you put your family first, the community benefits. If you put the community first, both the family and the community suffer. And that's true. And you find that in the Jewish teachings, in the Jewish scriptures. If you read them, the decisions are made in the home. And then from the home, they go out into the community and the businesses and the workplaces. So whatever we do, it starts in our home. So for me, you'll see me, I sing at home. And then I go and I sing in the church. I'm not part of the choir, but I do participate in the Mass and I sing in the church. I pray at home and then I go and I pray in the church. So whatever values I keep in my home are the same values I'm going to keep when I go out into the church, into the community, and places I'm volunteering. Those are the same values that I'm going to have. And the chapter today is emphasizing that on what I'm reading for my John Maxwell. It's asking, where does leadership begin? And obviously leadership begins in the home. It begins in our homes, whether you're single or married or you're in a relationship or not. It begins in your home. That's where the leadership begins. And John Maxwell gives the example of Joshua, and he looks at Joshua and how he put his family first and what he did for God. He didn't follow the crowd and he didn't wait for the crowd to join him. He started taking action just like we do. I take action in my home. It doesn't matter if there's people to pray with me or not. I pray on a daily basis. I have different apps that I use. I have my own rosary at home. I have my own little altar prayer place that I go to. So it starts with us. It starts in our homes. And Joshua led a faithful life. He gives the examples of his own parents and how they were virtuous, how they prayed often, how they spoke well of people. This is John Maxwell. And how they listened and talked about the things of God, that he watched them grow mentally and spiritually, and he sensed their intimacy with God. And if we look at our own families and our own lives, we can look at what we've done for God. We can look at how we've used our skills. So for me, I haven't had one career my whole life. I'm an executive assistant, but I've had opportunities to use those skills in HR, in project consulting, in project coordination. I have transferable skills that I use. And I certified in the HR profession in Canada. I use those skills in the business when I'm dealing with HR policies, HR procedures, when I'm helping to track any accidents that come up in the workplace, when I'm helping to put together policies and procedures for business recovery or emergency preparedness. I'm using my HR skills with that. I'm using my HR skills when I train people on the job and I have people shadowing me. Because if they're learning from the best, then they're going to take those skills and then they are going to be the best. But I'm training them, and then when they go onto the floor, we call it production in the call center. When we go into production, then they will be able to use those skills to provide that same service of excellence to others. And it's the same when I worked in administrative roles. It doesn't matter what industry it is. I had the opportunity to work at Regis College in the library, but I was dealing with the public, dealing with students, with the faculty. It's about using those skills that I have to help make people feel comfortable, to let them see my life being used in action for God's service, and my prayer life too. There's nobody here to see if I'm praying or not, but I know I have my integrity before the Lord of whether I'm praying or not. And so these are examples that we can think of. I'm sure in your family too, you probably have doctors, teachers, lawyers, legal assistants, plumbers. Those are all very good professions for people to be in. And everybody goes through periods of unemployment, periods of looking for work, and especially when the economy is hard like it is in Toronto, we have to persevere in our faith. That's when it becomes, for me, more important to keep my faith and to keep connected with community. But it starts in my home. It starts with my family. And it starts with how I am looking after myself, because obviously I don't want to be a 65-year-old or an 80-year-old with somebody taking care of me. I don't want somebody coming in and feeding me and clothing me and, not being able to take care of myself. So that's why I keep fit. I exercise. I do exercises from YouTube, or I just do them even without. But I do everything to keep my mind, my body, and my spirit healthy. And I focus on my life. And then I can go out and help in the community. Because if I'm not strong emotionally, if I'm not fit, if I'm not taking my medication, then you might as well put me in the hospital. Then I can have somebody to look after me, to come and see, am I taking my medication? Am I exercising? Is somebody coming to help me to bring my groceries? You can send me the groceries. You can set me up. I can live there at Sunnybrook. But I'm not. I don't need that. And I don't want to be like that. So it's important to see how we can take these principles and apply them in our own lives. And even in my job search, I don't wait for my mother or my uncles or my sister or my brother or anybody to say, okay, here's this job. Have you applied to this job? I take action. I go online. I check LinkedIn. I check Indeed. I check Glassdoor. I reach out to my network. And I adapt. As the business needs change, I adapt. That's why I've been adapting since 2007. I took on different tasks, different roles. I learned new skills in different companies. And so that's how we apply our faith in our lives. And we trust in the Lord. It doesn't mean it's easy. It's very hard. After 2 years, it's very discouraging. But we put our family first. And from there, we go out and we build up the community. And those examples for many of us have been modeled in our own homes and in our own parents, in our own grandparents. So many of us have had that opportunity to witness that. Some people haven't. And so they look to others to get that witness and to get that example. And so that's the question for the John Maxwell today. Are you putting your family first? And it's important to remember that, yes, you can't go overboard, and sometimes you have to pull back and look after your own health. But for me, I know I've put the family first, and my friends can attest to that. People I've grown up with can attest to that. The church can attest to that. I do take steps to help myself, and that helps my family. Even sending my resume to the Sisters of St. Joseph, because they know I volunteer in the church. They know my skills as a spiritual director. They know my education. So when opportunities come up, they can contact me and they can say, we've got a paid opportunity. So these are all ways that we help ourselves on the Christian journey. And that's what I wanted to share for today. And focusing on our lives, our stories, what we have done, that also helps others, especially immigrants coming into Canada, people who are adapting, people who are going through the same cultural shock, and even coming here from Europe. It's a big cultural shock. So, yes, I'm not where I want to be. No one wants to be bankrupt. No one wants to be without a car. No one wants to be without money, without your own property. No one wants to be in that position. Unless you've joined an order where you've taken vows of poverty and you've taken vows of charity and obedience, no layperson wants to be in my situation, where you're completely dependent on welfare and on handouts and begging people for money. But I don't have a choice, because I know I'm doing everything within my power to get work that is paid, and a good paid job. And I know I'm putting my trust in the Lord, and I did put the family first. So nobody can fault me on that. And that's what I have to do. And if you're in my situation, that's what you have to do. I posted that piece from SoundCloud. That's one of the retreats I'm doing. And I thought I would share that for today. It's a nice reflection. It's under 10 minutes. So if you like, you can listen to that too.